Knicks Nation, today is Thursday, the 9th day of May 2024. I hope you're safe and healthy today. I hope your family is safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders, who every day are comforting people and saving lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings to the men and women that are out here trying to help, rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses upon the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create these heinous industries. Finally, double blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, veterans, families, homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world, millions of people in similar conditions or even worse. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night at Madison Square Garden. The New York Knicks defeated the Indiana Pacers 130 to 121 to take a 2-0 lead in the best of 7 series in the semifinals of the Eastern Conference. The Knicks and the Pacers, again, the Pacers, looking at the team stats, the Pacers kept close or even better than Knicks in many important categories. I usually like to look at, for example, points in the paint. The Knicks scored 62 points in the paint. The Pacers scored 60, almost even. If you look at the rebounding, the Knicks did out-rebound the Pacers 44 to 34, but offensive rebounds, the Pacers had 14, the Knicks had 12. The Knicks hit 14 of 30 from 3. The Pacers hit 15 of 34 from 3. The Knicks shot 57% from the field. The Pacers shot 52% from the field. So how did the Knicks win this game? You look at the score, and I already had people talking about, where's the Knicks defense? First of all, this time of year, let me first back up for a second. We are experiencing in Knicks Nation something you haven't seen in 30 years. And those of us that's been around long enough to understand what we're experiencing right now and how special it is, that's where the true love of the true fans come in. The haters, like those on TNT, the haters, those that are sometimey, and those that unfortunate people that have emotional issues are wishy-washy at this time on the Knicks. But those of us that have been around a while, you're recognizing what you see. When Carmelo Anthony and Tyson Chandler and Woodson had that run about 10 years ago, 12 years ago actually, it was a temporary run. It wasn't anything that was long-term sustainable. That was the only time in Carmelo's history with the Knicks they had any real success. But now you have a team, not just built on one guy, but you have a team, though it's led by one guy, but you have a team. You have a culture. You have a coach. You have a GM and president of basketball operations. And you have an owner that lets them all do their thing. We ain't seen this in a long time in Knicks Nation. In fact, even in the 90s, you had most of those elements, but the front office wasn't as tight as this one at all. Not as slick, not as savvy, not chess playing, not like this one. Okay? The coach, of course, Pat Riley, Hall of Fame coach. Then Jeff Van Gundy, also probably going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Those two, yes, you had that. You had the toughness with Ewing, with Oakley, with later on with LJ, and then Sprewell and Starks and all of those people that contributed to that team. Doc Rivers, that contributed to those teams in the 90s and early 2000s. But now you have all of that. You have players that are under contract that have not yet or are just reaching their prime, like Jalen Brunson. You have players that reached their prime after the Knicks got them as free agents, like Julius Randle. You got players that have been drafted by the Knicks and are now key players in the rotation, like Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson. So those of us that are the real fans, and that's all I really want on this channel. I'm not looking for everybody. I don't need a million people. I'm looking for real fans that stick by the Knicks regardless, as I said yesterday. So last night, how did they win this game? First of all, it was a high point total because the Pacers can score. The key thing in the playoffs, which you develop during the course of the season, is getting timely stops. You must get stops to win in the playoffs. And the most important is timely. So, for example, end of the first quarter last night, it was 36 all. The Knicks had jumped out to a lead, but then the Pacers made a run. Closed the first quarter and it was tied at 36. Then the Pacers continued and it was 37-27. Now, it was the third quarter where everything changed. And this is why. The Knicks are really, really good on defense. They're just really good on defense. See, those doubters and haters are going to look at 130, 120. How can you say they're good on defense? Because I know basketball. And the stats for the season and the history of Tibbs tells you they're really good on defense. But the Pacers are really good offensively. The highest scoring team in the NBA. Okay? The highest scoring team in the league. Really, really good offensively. And so for the first two quarters, the Knicks, even with Deuce, even with Hart, even with OG, you could not stop the Pacers from getting in the paint. To tell you, and that's not a slight on the Knicks, as most would take it, because you're ready to slight your team at any hat. But no, it's just telling you how good Indiana is offensively. And I'm sitting here watching, and I'm seeing Deuce give his all, playing Deuce type defense, and McConnell getting in the paint. And I'm seeing OG and Siakam getting in the paint. Okay? And Nembhard getting in the paint. Halliburton getting in the paint. And that's what the problem was. It was hard to stop them. Now, when you have a team, though, like the Knicks, that is used to playing high-level, league-level defense versus a team that's not, you're going to end up defaulting to what you do best. So Indiana during the course of the season was never a great defensive team. They played great defense last night. Matter of fact, they were beating up Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, but that's another story. But they were playing good defense. But it's not something they're used to doing. They're used to scoring. The Knicks are used to, accustomed to, playing lockdown defense. So the third quarter, and I noted it at the 8-minute mark. At the 8-minute mark of the third quarter, 4 minutes into the quarter, the Knicks got 3 stops. They came out of the half down by 10. They got the 3 stops in a row. Tied the game. Then they got a 4th stop, up 2. Then there's a couple of going back and forth. Then they had another 4-stop series, up 10. And that was the ball game. That was the ball game. See, the key here in the playoffs is who's going to make them crucial stops at the crucial time. And the Knicks did that. Then Indiana, being the team that they are, offensive juggernaut, they were trying to make a run to come back, of course, in the fourth period. But that is where the fact that we got the 3 Villanova boys, led by Jalen Brunson, comes in. That is where we got Dante, who's clutch. Hart, who never stops coming at you. And, of course, Jalen Brunson, the head of the snake. So we got the key stops that they needed, and then they put the ball in the hands of the clutch players. And the clutch players came through. That's the difference. And, again, the Indiana Pacers, wisely, were trying to get Tyrese Halliburton involved offensively because he had been locked up. And a lot of people was trying to say it was his hamstring or whatever it was. But he had been locked up, not just by the Knicks, but earlier in the playoff. He had 34 last night. He had 34 points last night. Their bench, that is the Pacer bench, scored 46 points last night. The Pacers out-rebounded Knicks on the offensive glass 14-12, as I mentioned. The Pacers only had 9 turnovers. And they lost. Look, it's the playoffs. No team is going to play their best on both sides of the ball every night, especially in the playoffs. The Knicks haven't done it yet. And so because it's the playoffs. People make adjustments. Playoffs is a basketball chess match. For those of you who really appreciate the game in terms of the nuances of a chess match during the game, the playoffs is your jam, because this is what you're seeing. Tom Thibodeau, Rick Carlisle making moves and counter moves. So it's a chess match, continual chess match. So Rick Carlisle decided last night to beat up Jalen Brunson. That's basically what they were doing. Homie punched him in the private area. They were pushing him, banging him. They were pushing him when he didn't have the ball, hitting him. I hear him. Okay, no problem. He still lost. So now the Knicks are up 2-0. They're going back to Indiana Friday. Now, the problem, of course, the major issue here, OG Anunoby pulled his hamstring. Okay, and you can kind of understand. I'm starting to having now had a chance to see OG for a couple of months, watching him on the Knicks on a nightly basis, regular basis versus highlights or stuff with Toronto. His legs are very thick. His body is very thick. He's built more like a big old football player, really, than a basketball player. And so because of that, his legs look heavy at times, and he stumbles a little bit, because of the thickness of his body. And so you would expect guys like that, you might have some muscle issues in the legs, some cramping, or some hamstring pulls. Like Ken Griffey Jr. when he played baseball. Same thing, thick, muscular thighs on the playing field, wasn't natural grass. He would have a lot of issues, especially late in his career, with hamstring issues. Ken Griffey Jr. Same thing here with OG Anunoby. But he was killing while he was in the game on both sides. See, OG's always going to bring defense. As I told you, thing about the Knicks, they could always bring the lunch pail for defense. But he was killing offensively last night, hitting his three, going strong to the basket. Very strong, okay? And, of course, playing stellar defense. Siakam had 14 points last night. He was 7 of 18. Turner had 6 points, 3 of 11. That's the Hartenstein-Precious effect. The Hartenstein-Precious effect. There you go. See? And, of course, we said Halliburton had a great offensive game, 34 points. Obi Toppin was tremendous. Obi Toppin was playing like Lamar Odom. The way he was playing last night reminded me of Lamar Odom in his prime with the Lakers coming off the bench. I mean, Obi was really doing work. Yeah. And then TJ McConnell was TJ McConnell, and Shepard was what I thought was going to be a tough defensive guy, hitting his open three. He hit 3 threes last night. They were good. The Pacers were good, but they lost. So OG Anunoby for Friday is going to be an issue, because if he's not a fast healer. Let's put it that way. So if his hamstring is pulled, he's definitely going to miss Friday's game. He may play Sunday, in the second game against Indiana. Matter of fact, I probably would suggest they go ahead and do that. Sit him Friday. Get him the treatment from leaving last night. Nowadays, the way the teams operate, the medical staffs are available all the time, and they can start treatment even during the game, So when they announced he wasn't returning, I was like, okay, hopefully he's back there in the locker room getting treatment, which I'm sure he was, on that hamstring. The fact that they're at home also helps a lot. And the Knicks, also one of the best medical staffs in the world in terms of just pure professionalism. Being in New York, they got the best talent in the world in New York. So, yeah, they hopefully start working on him. Yesterday was Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Hopefully he'll be ready to go. They'll wrap it up tight, and he'll be ready to go Sunday, which leaves us with Friday. Friday's going to be a difficult game for the Knicks to win. Now, they're going to have the same starting five, except OG will not be there. You're going to start Precious Achiuwa, okay? Which is, I'm not saying Precious isn't OG now, but y'all know Precious can play some defense. Precious is tough. Precious can rebound, and even Precious can hit some shots for you. And Precious runs the floor also. So even though we would not have the same power as when we had OG, I think Precious will do the job. The question is after Precious starts. So you're going to have Deuce, and we're going to need Deuce big time. And then, of course, you'll probably have Jericho Sims. So Jericho Sims has got to get ready to play because you're going to have Precious starting. So you're going to need, break between Precious and Hartenstein between breaks and foul trouble, right? So you're going to need Jericho Sims there. Some of you pining for Alec Burks, you might get your wish. You're not going to see Shake Milton, so don't even think about it. But you might get some Alec Burks also. So we're going to need, like last night, Deuce played 20 minutes. Achiuwa played 28 minutes. Brunson played 32 because he hurt his foot. And played 28 obviously because he hurt his hamstring. So you're going to probably get Achiuwa and McBride playing, excess of 25 minutes again on Friday. And they're both ready. They can both do that. It's not a problem. It's Sims that we got to really hope is ready or gets ready. This is why Tibbs keeps a group of guys. In this case, it's Sims, it's Burks mostly. And it was Bodega 44. But he keeps a group of guys that are professional, that know what it means to stay ready. Sims is such a one. So he's got to be ready to play on Friday night. The likelihood of the Knicks winning that game is going to be less than 50% because you're missing a very key piece in OG Anunoby. He's a very key piece in this equation here. So they're going to come out and battle, and Brunson hurt his foot. I thought he got hit in the replay to me looked like he got hit in the groin, but then it was reported several times during the broadcast that he hurt his foot, and I did not see where he hurt his foot. But we'll see how that foot feels today, and we'll see how it feels on Friday. I say there's an 80% chance Brunson plays on Friday. There's an 80% chance he plays. Just a tough nut to crack as this kid, and he's gonna and he can taste it. The Knicks can taste it. Listen, they're 2-0, right? They got 5 more games in a 7-game series, and all they got to do is win 2 out of 5. Okay, the likelihood of them not doing that is less than probably 10%. They would win 2 out of the next 5. All right. Now somebody said, well, what if OG doesn't play again? Okay, yes, that would be more difficult. But I'm very confident with Precious in there that they could still win 2 out of the next 5. Okay, so we'll see how this works out. But I'm pretty confident the Knicks are in a good position to take this series. Which what I'm meaning by is this: all of them, but especially Brunson, they can taste ECF right now. They can taste it. Okay, they know it's close. They can smell it. All right, so they want to. And this type of team with Hart, with DiVincenzo, with Brunson, with Anunoby, with Precious, with Deuce, with Burks, all of them for different reasons, they're not going to slack up. They're not going to slow up. They're not going to lose focus. They're not going to think they got it in the bag. That's not this type of team. That's not Tom Thibodeau. This team has his thumbprint all over it. That's not him. They're going to put their foot on the neck of their enemies, and they're going to try to end this Friday, even though they are shorthanded. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very confident. They look very good going forward. And don't let them win one of the games in Indiana, because if they do, ECF. Okay? So we're that close to it. And so the goal this year, and I want people to remember that because a lot of people forget it. And if the Knicks lose in the conference finals to Boston, there's some idiots out here that'll call it a failure of a season. I mean, last night, it seemed like this is what happened. I was listening to my music most of the game. I was not listening to Reggie Miller. I was not listening to the TNT crew. I had my music on. I had it on mute. After it was about 33, in fact, it was 33 seconds left. I said, okay, it's over now. Let's see what they say. And these idiots was trying their best to down the Knicks win, to normalize it like it was something like, they shouldn't have won this game. It was the same crap. And that really it was Indiana that gave it to you. It wasn't that you took it from them. It's amazing. Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith, them some sorry dudes, man. And then Reggie Miller, and I'm glad. Did you hear where Hart walked up to Miller and told him, yeah, you want to come in here acting like you some sort of celebrity and stuff? Hart told him, this is what they're saying to you. Y'all saw that? So it's all good. let them keep hating. And like somebody asked me, where does hate come from? I told y'all in the past, I'll tell you again, it's Dolan. They hate Dolan. They all hate Dolan. Okay? And the networks are giving scripts to these idiots that don't have enough brains to come up with their own ideas about the Knicks. And they're just regurgitating that stuff. And for some of them, it's easier than others. Kenny Smith has tried to get the Knicks head coaching job multiple times. He was passed over for Jeff Hornacek. He was passed over for David Fizdale. He thought he was getting the job when Fizdale got it because he had come in for a couple of interviews and they didn't pick him. Okay, so he was passed over for Fizdale, and then finally, of course, now Tom Thibodeau. And so he's bitter about that. He really is. And so you can see it. Okay, Shaq is from New Jersey. Been talking mess about New York and the Knicks since he was drafted by Orlando. Okay, and then of course this Charles Barkley. And y'all don't remember this, but Charles Barkley, when he played for Philly and then he was a free agent, he was going to Phoenix. People in New York were saying he was too scared to play in the Garden, and at that time that was a thing. It still is, bro. It's much more difficult to play in Madison Square Garden for the Knicks than as an opponent against the Knicks. Okay, it's much more difficult. The fans, the media, horrible in terms of breaking on their own team. And so you got to be a real man like Julius Randle to come in here and do your thing still. Okay, Charles wasn't that way, and Charles is holding it against the Knicks to this day. Okay, and then the whole media hates Dolan because Dolan was the first dude to have a black president of basketball operation, a black head of scouting, a black assistant coach, a black head coach. He was the first dude in the NBA history, I don't even know any has done it since, to have that. All black. Okay? And the Knicks back in the 69 to 72 years, nobody could tell us anything. We was arrogant. The Mets had won the World Series. The Jets had won the Super Bowl. The Knicks won 2 championships. You couldn't tell us nothing. And then come the 70s, and Reggie Jackson comes. Joe Steinbrenner buys the Yankees, and the Yankees start winning. You couldn't tell us nothing. Then in the 80s, Lawrence Taylor's drafted by the Giants. The Giants start winning Super Bowls. The Mets win in 86. Couldn't tell us nothing. And so the arrogance the media hates. And then the Daily News used to start writing a whole bunch of crap, and Newsday, about the Knicks when Ewing was here. And it got to the point where Dolan said the Daily News cannot come to the locker room. They have never forgiven him for that. All of those things combined is why you have hatred for the New York Knicks to this day in the media. Okay? And you ain't gonna get no love as long as Dolan owns the team. And listen, Latrell Sprewell, who cursed Dolan out, okay, in front of everybody when he got traded when he went to Minnesota as a free agent, didn't re-sign with the Knicks. Dolan hires him. He was broke, spent all his money on gambling and whores, and Dolan hires him. Okay, he brings him back. He brings back Larry Johnson. He brings back Allen Houston to a major executive position. He brings back John Starks. This is what this owner is doing for the Knicks. Forget anything else. I don't care if he vote for Trump or whoever, whatever. But as far as what he's doing for the Knicks, that's why there's media hate. Okay, so when you see it, that's where it's coming from. I'm just giving you a short history, but that's where it's coming from. All right, and we don't care because if you know basketball, we're doing pretty good in New York right now. So, like I said, up 2-0, going into Friday, Indiana. We're going to be shorthanded, probably no OG, but we got Precious. And we're going to be a little shorthanded, but Dukes is ready. I'm confident in Mr. Sims to come up and do his thing. We might even see a Burke sighting. Some of y'all getting excited, I can tell already. Y'all enjoy your Thursday. Celebrate this. It ain't something that happens all the time. So